Ohio. Ohio is having their TDC this week. He's up there helping with the pre-trip. He's up there helping MC it. So Steve is an MC. He can talk. He can run this microphone into the ground until I ask him a question. When I ask him a question, he's like, you asked me a question? And anyway, long story short, love Steve to death. But going to be missing him tonight on the Truckers' Voices. But anyway, hey, tell us, in the chat, tell us in the chat if you did your TDC yet or not, and tell us how you finished, and or if your TDC's coming up, let us know in the chat. Also, we'll go back and check that, periodically during the show there. But anyway, I'm going to bring our guest on in here. So I'm going to put on some theme music and bring him in here, and we'll just get right to it talking with Mr. Mike Alpine. Right, Mike. How you doing tonight, brother?
Doing good, Tim. How are you tonight?
Good, man. Good. So we always bring everybody in on the Rocky theme because we have champs in our midst tonight, and everybody we bring on here is a champ in their own right, So, Mike, it's good to have you in here on Truckers' Voices tonight, and thank you for carving out time. Where are you at, Mike?
I am in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. So it's about 3 hours west of Phoenix, and right along the mighty Colorado River, and home of the original London Bridge.
I got you. Well, for some reason, I don't know why I was thinking that you was in California. Do you compete in California? Is that why I was thinking that?
I used to. We live permanently now here in Arizona, and I grew up and was raised in California. So most of my TDCs starting in 2003 are in California. So but we're out here in just over the river from California now. So
I got you. Just far enough away, right?
Yes. Go back to visit. Although I have to drive there generally every night. So, but not tonight. Finally, after the show, you always say good day of trucking, which I get to go trucking after the show. But tonight I get to go to St. George, Utah, on a turn up there and back. So I'm looking forward to that.
Gotcha. So so you run a night run, is that right most of the time, or are you on a wild board or something like that?
I'm on a turn bid. Our call-in time is 1600, which is 4 p.m. out here in the West, and we get to choose whatever runs are available of where you want to go and what time it leaves. So you get to usually have a few choices to decide where you want to run to.
I got you, Mike. So, Mike, I'm going to give you the floor. You can reintroduce yourself again, but I'm just going to let you roll on and just kind of tell us your story. From the time you got into trucking, how you started trucking, how you learned how to drive, just all that. Just run it off for Mike, and I'm going to put you on a solo screen so everybody can see you and not look at me. There, right?
All right. Well, real quick, Tim, I just want to say congratulations on your 2024 TA Citizen Driver Award. That's huge.
I appreciate it, Mike. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on with that, and I just got a little spotlight on Facebook on it yesterday, so I reshared it some. But thank you very much. I still got to have the what they call the dedication ceremony, which I've set that for October the 10th at Atlanta South, TA, where they're going to dedicate that one to me with a historical marker there. But anybody that wants to come join me there, hey, reach out to me. I'll get you an invitation, and it would be great to have a lot of people there at that ceremony. But that's October 15th, and I don't know what time yet. But I chose October because the weather down here in the South during the summertime is just horrendous with the humidity and the gnats and everything else that go along with it. So I want everybody to be comfortable.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So tell us about your story. Tell us how you got into trucking from the beginning up until now.
Woo. All right. Well, let's see. It'll be my 37th year as a professional driver. So let's see if we can put 37 years in 1 hour or less. I'll see if I can summarize. So, wow, it's been a long journey. It really started when I was really young. I've always been interested in trucks since I really knew what they were. So the family would take camping trips. We'd go up to Northern California, and we'd camp out, and that was a high logging area. So we would be logging trucks running up and down the road. So all I wanted to do when we went up there on vacation was ride my bike to the side of the highway and watch all the logging trucks go by. So that kind of started it off. I've always been more of an outdoorsy kid, playing with toys and Matchbox cars and trucks, and started riding dirt bikes when I was 4 years old. My dad taught me how to ride, and then got into racing. Um, so pretty much everything with wheels and gears and machines and engines and whatnot, it's been an attraction for me. And going on road trips, so we go take camping trips to the Midwest and visit family. So being out there on the interstates, got to see all the big trucks out on the roads, and I just was amazed by it. And then as time went on, I grew up in the era of the 70s when trucking there was a big love affair with the media as far as Hollywood back then. As far as I remember the shows, the Smokey and the Bandits, Convoy. Um, Man, there's so many to list. Some of the TV shows, BJ and the Bear, and my favorite, which is Moving On with Claude Akins. That's where I got my CB handle from, and I still stick with Moving On to this day on the CB, even though we don't talk on it much now. Um, we had in our pickup truck that we went on our vacation trips with. My dad had a really nice setup in the truck, so I got to be on the CB radio talking to all the big trucks out there on the road. So, conversing back and forth with the drivers really made those trucks humanized. It wasn't just a big machine, but there was somebody in there, and that really followed me all the way through high school. And I decided when I got out of high school, that's what I want to do. I want to be a truck driver. So when I was 18, graduated, I decided I want to go to a trucking school and get trained and start driving. What I found out really quick was being 18, trucking schools didn't want to accept me because I was being 18 years old. And so it was quite a challenge just to find a trucking school that would accept me. And in 1987, there was a big switchover out. If everyone remembers, the CDL change, the drug testing, and there was a lot of changes. So there were some new trucking schools that started up with all the new rules. I'm really blessed to be able to start at a trucking school that was basically ran by drivers that would drive during the day, and then in the evenings would come into the school and run the school. So I got trained by what I refer to back in the day, the 70s era drivers, which were, the button down shirts and the blue jeans and the boots. And that's where I got my start. They couldn't guarantee me placement, but they were eager to train me, and I was ready to start. So, and that was a fun time, getting to actually be in the trucks, going through the classroom process, learning all the ins and outs of logbooks, and the rules, and then get out there in the trucks and driving these trucks in this big yard that were late 60s, early 70s models trucks. So which all the trucks were cab overs back then. It was very rare to see a conventional, which is what you see predominantly now. You almost don't see cab overs anymore. So I got my time there. I still remember my day like it was yesterday. The day I drove from the parking lot, that my instructor took me out on the street, and I kind of looked at it like, you want me to take this big truck out on that little narrow street? But my instructor had confidence in me, and he just talked me through it, and really that was the start of it all. Was super excited to graduate. Earned at the time it was class 1, now it's considered class A, and to be able to go out and drive, that was a huge honor. But my training to that day, all to those days in the trucking school, is where it really set my foundation. Again, going back to being trained by like true professionals of the 70s. I mean, it was even taught. It was like, you show up as a professional, you dress as a professional, and you operate as a professional. And I was taught that way in my trucking school, and it's carried to me for 37 years, and knock on wood, 4 million plus safe miles. So I really attribute it back to that foundation, and move it on from there. But it was tough finding jobs. That was Southern California, so it's just east of Los Angeles is where I grew up. And even with all the trucking companies that were in California and Southern California, it was still a challenge to find a company that would accept me because of one, no experience, and two, being 18. Usually the answer I would get back was, come see us when you're 21 or older or having 3 years experience. Well, kind of makes it difficult when, they want experience or age, and here I'm 18. What do I do now? Found a lot of odds and ends jobs. The trucking school helped me a lot with finding basically temporary jobs. Even, back then, 1987, everything was word of mouth. You know, people picked up phones and called people, but it was word of mouth to get driving jobs, just to get my time and get my feet wet, try to get some experience so that I can move on to a bigger company. And it was such a challenge moving in and out of jobs. Driving, probably the best thing was driving so many different pieces of equipment. I mean, flatbeds to bottom dumps, hauling dirt, and driving some really raggedy trucks. I mean, it was the trucks taught me a lot. I didn't know any better getting into these trucks because I just had started, so I don't know a bad truck from a good truck other than knowing how it drives or how it doesn't drive, and just got out there and beat the street, so to speak, and put the time in. And one of the things I discovered was talking to people. When you get out there talking to drivers are more than willing to help you if you ask questions. And one driver I approached, he's like, well, why don't you go buy your own truck and get your experience that way? And I'm like, wow, how am I going to do that? And I thought that was quite a monumental task. Well, okay, how am I going to get a loan? Well, I'm 18 years old. I've been working through high school, so I had some money saved, but not enough. And so I was talking to my family about it, and my brother-in-law and sister, and what I didn't know at the time, they took out a second loan against their home so that I could get a loan to go buy a truck. And I mean, they really they trusted in me that much to know that they put their house on the line so I could go buy a truck and go trucking. That's so.
Yeah,
That,
that's commendable there for sure.
yes, thank you. Yeah, and that also taught me a ton. Going through the process of buying your own truck and getting a running authority and insurance and registrations and permits and man, it was a lot of work. And but it taught me a ton of stuff. I mean, I always say to this day, if everybody could take a step into a owner operator role and write those checks and pay those bills, you'd really understand real fast how expensive it is to run a truck to begin with, and how you need to conserve things, and just how hard it is to get work. I did find a lot of work running ports. I ran shipping containers for a while, and again, in our industry, it's all about who you know. Even then, running containers, you get to know different drivers, different people involved, and then you get new opportunities. And I got a guy, hey, I need someone to pull refrigerator trailers for me, running produce from Central California down to Southern California. And it kind of just went from one step to another during that era. And it was a lot of work, and I enjoyed it. I learned a ton, but it got to a point where the expenses and revenue were not exactly meeting up. I was spending almost all I was making. I was very fortunate being 18. I could afford to do that, but what ate me alive is being 18 and insurance costs were just super absorbent back then. And so I got an opportunity. Once I got my experience in, I got an opportunity to go work for bigger companies. And I got an opportunity to go work for McDonnell Douglas in Long Beach in aerospace. So I took that opportunity. I sold the truck, started working there, and then they cut the fence. And then that kind of started this change going from one company to another.
Yeah.
And again, that's just how it worked out then. But it was all about experience. Grabbing all that experience and time has paid the dividends to this day. And because I can go back and say, what I would do differently or what I would not do differently, and how I could suggest for someone of young ages to get into our industry. And I wouldn't change it though. If I had to go start over again, I would most definitely get into trucking again. It was a great experience. Even to this day, I enjoy it.
Right, absolutely. So going back to talking about driving your own truck and all that, um, how would you say that that differs then versus now? And I know you work for a company now, but uh, if you were doing that now, how does it differ?
Well, one thing we're aware of now with it's called AB5. So it basically in the state of California, trying to be a owner operator or independent driver has become almost an impossible thing. So you have to lease through a company now, um, or get your own authority and work from a different state that doesn't have that restriction. That's one big problem right now that it's kind of affecting the independence, and I hope it doesn't, because the one thing that we have in our industry in America is freedom to decide what you want to do, who you want to work for, and what type of freight you want to haul. And I hate to see that, um, taken away. So hope it
Right.
doesn't change, but we'll see. Everything changes as we go on here.
That's right. One of the best things that ever happened in the trucking industry is, of course, you and I know this because we're coming fresh off the Facts for Drivers book, is deregulation in the 1980s, and that really opened up a lot of doors for a lot of drivers and companies alike. Rates, routes, and all that, and it all helped out. Just asking you another question about that, Mike. How long have you been married?
I got married the first time in 1999, and I got remarried in 2010.
Okay, all
So
right.
three sons from the first marriage, and then I gained two more sons as stepsons. So now I got five boys. They're all grown adults. So now it's just me and my beautiful wife Beth, and we get to our kid that we have now has four legs and has fur. So we get
I
to spend
got
some
you.
time with that.
Well, I asked you that question for a reason because I was going to ask you, having back when you had your own truck and you was driving your own truck and all that, how did that weigh on the family?
Well, since you bring that up, really the underlying point that was really tough for me in that moment in time was, and it just happened to be the way it worked out, was my dad actually had cancer at the time. He came down with melanoma skin cancer and was suffering really bad from it. And it was about 1988 when I bought that truck, and my dad died in 1989. So watching him degrade through that was a sad thing to deal with. But I then attributing to the having the truck and trying to work was probably hindsight the best distraction I could have had then. I was very fortunate. My dad was able to get up in the truck at least once, but he was too ill to go with me in the truck. But that was a tough time. When I started driving as time went on in 2002, I was prior to 2002, 1995 to 2002, in that era, I was driving team over the road and got married in 1999, wanted to start a family. In 2002, I got an opportunity to go do car haul. And so I could be home every day, start a family, and be around the kids. Again, the great flexibilities that we have in our professional industry is we got a lot of availability of different options, especially now more than ever. It used to be a lot of coast to coast,
Right.
driving and very little local. Now we have a lot of local work, the super regionals, like what I do now, turns. You go out and come back every night. Those are things that have increased immensely since in the last 10 years. But I was still able to leave a company that I really loved, but move into another company that what I didn't know at the time I was going to love even more. And the challenge of car haul, I didn't really consider it much, but it was an opportunity that came to be. And so getting in a car haul was something else. I would say it's 10% driving the truck and 90% loading and unloading. It's like a giant jigsaw puzzle that you
Right.
load the truck, get everything to fit in 70 feet and 14 feet, which is the West Coast. We can run 14 feet high, and out in the East Coast or Midwest, it's 13.2.
Yeah.
So some of the differences, but we can go 70 feet, but you got to get all these vehicles to fit.
Yeah.
Now there's
13.6 here.
builders that build the loads into the truck, but you still,
Hmm.
as a driver, you have to go bring the cars from the parking areas out to the truck. And then, like I said, big puzzle, fit it all together. And just going through that training, it was about 6 months. And there was times when I really was doubting myself. I was, after the day, I was so exhausted and mentally drained that I was like, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if I can do this. It's such a challenge. And getting over the fact of being up on top of the truck was another challenge. What you don't realize, when you're on top of that car carrier and you're standing next to the vehicle, you're about 14 feet off the ground standing up there. So
Right.
of course it looks like you're 40 feet off the ground up there, and then the wind's blowing and you're trying to hang on to the roof line of the car and walk down the truck. And so that was a challenge, but I'm really glad I got through that. And that was an amazing experience going through that era, which was 2002, 2008. And that's where I got into the TDCs in 2003. So we can get into that. But
Yeah. Let's transition into that right now. That's a good segue to it. So
yeah,
tell us getting started in it. Tell us all about that.
started with car haul in 2002, and then a year later, um, they kind of drew me into a lot of the drivers said, "Hey, it looks like you can handle that truck pretty good. Why don't you come do the rodeo?" And not really anybody explaining to me what that meant. I was like, rodeo. I'm thinking, cowboys and ropes and horses. I'm like, were we gonna go rope some trucks or something? So I signed up, did all the paperwork, and then showed up for the rodeo. And then I'm like, oh, okay, so we're gonna drive around these wooden barriers and these cones, and all right, sounds like a good challenge. Let's go. And went through the walkthrough and the process and the instructions, and I was kind of excited and not paying attention. I remember clearly that I heard the words that it's a timed event and the time will beat a tie. So for whatever reason in the back of my head, I had that I better go fast through this course because I don't want to be beat by time. And so first time through, I was rolling pretty fast. I mean, especially what I know now, standing out there and it's all just public volunteers at each problem. I went through the offset alley, creating a dust storm behind me, and I remember the judges running away from the barriers, and I probably would have too, if I was out there too. But I felt really bad after the fact. I didn't know, and I almost nearly got disqualified. One of the course captains wasn't too happy about that, and I just told him, I said, I didn't know. I thought time was the tiebreaker there. They said no. That's not a big thing. You don't have to go fast. So and that was my rookie year. And California is a very challenging state to compete in because there's Northern California and Southern California. Because the state's so big, you have two events, and then you merge the two together for a shootout.
Right.
What was really exciting that year, I ended up being overall second place in rookie of the year. And once I got done with that, I was bit. It got me, man. I was like, I really like this, and I'm going to really focus and challenge myself the next year. And going into 2004, I remember one of the top drivers in California was saying, "Man, you got the fire this year. You're going to get it." And I'm like, "Well, we'll see. I don't know about that, but well, I'm going to do my best." And then I was very, very fortunate to end up in first place and go to the nationals for the first time in 2004. And it was really a surreal moment. One, to win first place and beat all these people I've been, watching drive the course and go, man, these guys are something else.
Right.
And so that was amazing to get up to, just to win first place in the state. It is an amazing feat in itself. And then get to the national, and it was like, yeah, I lived in Southern California. I was near Disneyland, but it was a whole different Disneyland for me to go into the national. It was at Salt Lake City that year. And I went in there with an open book. I didn't know anything. I'm just there to enjoy the moment. And what I can take away from 2004 to present is it was super competitive then. It's not
Right.
that it's not competitive now, but it was a different type of competition. There was a lot of, well, we'll say mental games in the dens back then.
Yep.
I remember there was a driver out of Ohio. Speaking of, Steve, he's out there going to compete this weekend. Hello, Steve Brand, Mission Show. Um, there was a driver out of Ohio, and he's like 6-time national winner. And he basically walked in the door, like your Rocky entry there, and basically told everybody they can go home. He's going to win first place and take the crown. And I, again, not knowing anything, I'm like, hey, pleasure to meet you. I'm Mike Alpine, and I'm just here to have to learn and have a good time and enjoy this. And so of course the competitive side comes out on me, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try to do my best. And so I think it was second place in the first drive, and then it was the top three that go into the shootout um,
Right.
for the final drive. And I remember going into the final drive and was doing decent. And I knew one problem that was going to be a challenge, and it was a side and rear stop, but it was an angle because as we know with the Nationals, everything is all about strange angles and different directions than we're used to normally.
Right.
I knew where the lines were, but I couldn't see them out of the mirrors. And as I rounded this corner, I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna be over it or too far forward. I'm gonna have the back end has to be inside the the scoring zone, and then the side has to be within. So as I turn this corner, I kind of much, you're talking to yourself in the truck, going, "Oh man, I overshot this. I'm not gonna be on that line." And just by a miracle, really is what it felt like. Is the truck came around the corner, I saw that sideline come into the mirror, and all at the same time, I stood on the brakes and stopped the truck as fast as I could because the back end was going to come out of the scoring box.
Right.
And I ended up scoring a 50 on that, and that put me over the top. And to that day, that one problem was definitely the one that got me in the first place.
Yeah.
And such a great moment, man. That was amazing. So
Yeah.
see what I can do again this year. I don't know. It's even harder nowadays in the national than it ever was back then. So I'm looking
It
forward.
is. It is, and I had the pleasure of announcing at nationals last year in Columbus, and it was fun. But I was actually looking at the course and the runoff course also, and I was like, "Ooh, they put it on you guys." And there was some stuff out there last year. I was like, "Hmm, th- this isn't everyday obstacles we're dealing with anymore. They're trying to make this thing a little tougher and tougher."
Yes, that was a doozy. Going back to the current time, um, competed many times in California and got a lot of second and third place finishes. And man, that's tough. I would rather get second or third by 30 or 40 points than three, because that's what you just counting you're like, if I would have just done something different, one test question, one problem on the pre-trip, something, you beat yourself up over that. But still, anybody that's in top three, top five, man, I commend you. It's it's a tough thing to do. And last year was fortunate. Now backing up, this will be the third year I get to the national, which is just amazing. I mean, it's something else to get to the national. But yeah, last year, oh man, that was an extreme challenge, and I was like, wow, this was tough. And I practiced some of it, but not the angles that they had set up. So that was going to be a doozy. But I executed the way I wanted to drive it. It just didn't fall into place. I always say it's a 90% skill, 10% luck. I can get the
Yeah.
truck within an inch or two of wherever I think it needs to be, but it falling into that magic number, there you gotta have luck fall your way. If anybody's into golfing or bowling, there's some luck that goes with that. Either getting a strike or getting the ball to fall in the hole. If you're golfing, you can get it to where you need it to go, but getting that last little bit, that little luck has to go your way. On
Sure
top of it,
does.
there's a lot of practice, a lot of studying. I mean, I'm actually got the Facts for Drivers book right here. I've been reading it
Right.
while I was in the backstage waiting. So, but
Yeah.
that's in order to win, you're going to have to study a lot and
Yeah. Those back
practice.
those back rooms are very important. I had nothing on the course this year, but I had a great back room, and um, you know, I didn't even expect to be in the top 10 out of something 30 something, but I'm in the top 10 there, right? Number 7 this year, so it is what it is.
Yeah, and it's just that hard. I always tell everybody it's to get it, as we know how it works, but to the public watching us, it's 6 problems that you're going to face, and it's getting into a truck you've never driven, and you're going to drive on a course you've never driven on, and you get one shot to do the best you can on each 6 problems, and you got to remember exactly how to execute each problem. And so it's like a game plan. You got to go in it and replay it in your head how you want to actually get through it.
Right.
And that's a challenge. But hey, seventh place, Tim, isn't too bad considering.
Consider I consider I didn't drive.
Yeah, usually it's the other way around. I mean, my back room is getting better.
Yeah.
It's never been my strong point. My strong point is out on the driving side.
Right.
So I'll exchange you. I'll take the back room you had there.
There you go. There you go. Hey, Mike. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going. If anybody wants to call in, you can call the number now. I got the phone line open. It's 251-616-2151. Got it on the bottom of the screen here. Also got it scrolling across the bottom there. So y'all call in if you got any questions for Mike. But we're going to continue on with the conversation about the TDCs right now, and I want to talk to Mike about his win this year. And so Mike, tell us a little bit about your win this year. What class was you competing in?
This will be my second year in twins, so next year I'll have to switch to a different class. My game plan going in was, it's not just enough. Everybody wants to win first. That's a given. We want to do our best to try to get first place. But I give myself an extra incentive. Like what is my incentive for wanting to get to the national? And my incentive last year, for example, it was ABF's 100-year anniversary. So I wanted to get to the national to represent for the 100th year of the company, which is huge in itself. But that was the goal. This year was Arizona Trucking Association's 50th TDC. So there again, that extra little goal, an extra little push, motivation was, I want to win in my class on the 50th year of the TDC. So I practiced a bunch. I'm very fortunate to be in a relay yard where there's a lot of space, and I set up a lot of cones out there. We're in dirt, so instead of painting lines, because I can't do that, I just, at our terminals I go to, I ask the mechanics, hey, you got any broken straps off the flatbeds? And I take the straps and actually pound them with these big giant nails into the ground to make my line. So and that's how we practice. And then there's guys that come out of Albuquerque that feed us in a relay, and they practice as well, which their TDC, I believe, is this weekend as well. So, go out there and get it.
Right.
There's a lot of states competing, I believe, in the next 2 or 3 weeks. There's a whole bunch of states going to be competing. So
yeah, you got a
good
lot.
luck to all the competitors, man. It's just to be qualified at the state level is no slouch. I mean, it is something to be said, just to be able to compete in the state level. That means you're driven a year safe, and you met all the qualifications, and that is huge. This year in Arizona, we had probably about half were rookies, and that's super exciting for everyone to see, especially me, to see all these rookies getting involved. And we have a lot of newer competitors coming up that are I got my eyes on. Good Koffel from FedEx Express. He was pretty much took out home all the hardware this year. Grand National, Grand Champion here in Arizona. But he's got that fire, man. He's going to be someone to deal with. And we have our staples, Ina Daly. She's amazing. She won again, and the most humble person you ever want to meet. When I first started competing 4 years ago here in Arizona, I really didn't know anybody, and got to watch who was driving and how they drove. So, and then you hear other competitors talking, who was going to win, who was this, who was that. And I've gotten to know Ina personally, a great person. She's very willing and open to help anything, and comes to the TDC, the nationals. She's an open book, and we share things tools that we use back and forth, how we do things. And you were talking earlier about that tools. One of the things I actually use as a tool here at the house is I have a scale model truck, and I set up on the table with
tabletop trucking,
and drive the scale truck around what the problems would be. And it seems kind of silly, but there's a lot of translation into a model truck going around tight
Right.
spaces and corners, and then just take that and go take it to the street every day that we do on driving the truck. Just convert that into actual everyday driving. And one of the tools that every driver can use, and they not even realize it, that they can practice every single day that they're out there getting paid to do work. You see an expansion joint, so asphalt and cement or a painted line. Those are all a problem for me as far as a problem in the sense of what I'm going to face in a TDC or a national. I'm going to use those lines as practice. Every time I come up to fuel the truck at a truck stop, those lines that we stop at the when you pull forward after fueling, well, that's a front stop right there. Sometimes there's a that division between the asphalt and concrete behind. Well, that's a rear stop.
Right.
If you go park the truck and go in and get a coffee, well, there's a side stop. So
Right.
turning corners. So there's some tips right there. Hopefully that helps some.
Yeah, Jason Damron in the comments, he was saying here that Quizlets is a good thing that you can put some test on and study guide and all that. So, and of course, I have some stuff that I use, and I use Google Drive, and that way I can collaborate with some people. Me and Mr. Eddie Pennington, we collaborate every year, and we update all our stuff there. So, it is a team effort. Of course, everybody wants to win themselves, but when you can work together and pay it forward to help other people, you're a winner in the sense anyway when you're helping other people, better themselves. Because, like you said earlier, everybody's driven accident free for a year, and they've made it to the state level, and that is absolutely 100% a great feat in itself, and it's worth showcasing it to all these different companies, and the companies showcasing that to on a state level and a national level, right?
Absolutely, and the companies benefit greatly from that as well, because they're going to generate safer drivers just by competing and learning to hone your skill driving the truck. That's going to make you a safer driver. And
Right.
and again, hats off to all the companies that support us and getting involved. In between companies I worked for in the past, present. When I had to look for a new company to work for in 2015, because the company I previously worked for was closing their doors. Um, there was very few companies that I was really focusing on, and the ones that were in my focus were the ones that compete in the TDCs and the nationals, because in my honest opinion, companies that get involved in the safety aspects are head and shoulders above many of the others. Not to take away from any companies that safety is paramount, of course, but there's just an extra effort that companies that compete and involved in the safety end of it, it makes a huge difference. So that's a good recruiting tool as far as I'm concerned. Um, a feel good moment last year, as I'll remember, everybody remembers Yellow was closing their doors, and there was a question of whether the competitors that made all their states were going to be able to compete in the national, and you were big at stepping up. Herschel Evans, there were so many people that stepped up to the plate to make sure that all these guys that were qualified to compete were able to get there and compete. And during the national, it was fun. I nicknamed it Adopt a Former Yellow Driver. So we took a couple of them to lunch, and
Right.
and that's the thing of our industry. It's a very giving industry, as everyone knows. We're more than willing to help each other out, even in the moments of we're all busy in our lives. But just reach out, and we're all our drivers are in our industry are more than willing to help out as much as they can, and it was great to see, and it was good to see that all those drivers that were basically out of work for the most part were getting opportunities galore. I mean, who wouldn't want a driver of the national that's competed in the national and is finalist in a national on their team? I mean, that was who wouldn't want to pick those guys up? So it was
Yeah.
nice to see a lot of those guys had multiple offers as soon as they were done with the national. So that
Right.
that was a good heartwarming moment that everyone was landing on their feet, and I think quite a few of them we're able to find new work. I know ABF was pursuing many of the yellow drivers to get them on our
Right.
team. And a lot of drivers were, a lot of companies were really reaching out. So, but that's what we do in our industry, you know, and it's something that's always been there. It's a very unique industry. We have humans, people, not only just drivers, but in our companies. Being a ABF road team member has opened up a whole new door for me as far as getting to meet all our executives and our directors in our company, and it just really it proves what I've always known is the companies really care. You hear a lot
Hmm.
of people say, "Oh, the company doesn't care." No, they really do care. They just have a lot of stuff going on. As we know,
Right.
all our industry is super competitive, and at the end, the consumer wins on that. But the companies are really competitive. Everybody's out there trying to do better than the other guy, and that's a good thing. Really, I really like that competition, because if there wasn't competition, there wouldn't be any reason for a company wanting to do better than the competitor. So
We, but
evolution.
But you know what I like, Mike, as is when I see these companies coming together at the TDCs and all these functioning. You know, somebody said it best on one of the videos I took, because I did some interviews at the safety drive, and I believe the guy was out of California. I cannot remember his name, but he said it best. He said, you know, when we come together for a good cause, and all our companies do, we don't see color. We don't see brown. We don't see purple. We don't see Walmart colors or whatever it is. All we see is, hey, we're the trucking family. We're coming together and we're going to make a difference. And that's what I love about this industry is, you know, how family oriented it is. I will go ahead and give plugs to your company there. I had to pick up one of the ATA road trucks from ABF in Atlanta a couple weeks ago, and just went over to the shop, introduced myself to the guy, and man, just 100%, just great A1 people, just nice as they could be. Actually dropped the truck off in Kansas City at your place in Kansas City. Everybody treated me well, and you know, it's just a great experience when you can be around people like that, and like-minded people, and people that are
Yeah,
professionals up here. You know,
yeah, and that is our industry, really. I mean, we are I'd say the shining stars for our elite industry, which is, over 3 million drivers. And in the TDCs, there's plenty that could compete. They just choose not to. But
right?
there's so many guys and gals that in our industry that just come in and do their job and go home, and just moving America, making our economy work every day. And I tip my cap to them. I've done everything. I've done city driving, done road, team, you name it. And each has their difficulty. There's no easy day in trucking, is what I say. It's a challenge pretty much every day out there. But yeah, it's amazing. Even in what we don't see, the clerks, as you talking about, you went to the shop, all our mechanics, our technicians that work on our trucks. We could go on for about, I don't know, at least 3 or 4 more hours talking about
Right.
how important the nearly 8 million people involved in our industry, how important each person, that role that they play, and how involved that is, and how important each role, even though they don't get much appreciation for it. But everyone's doing pulling on the same end of the rope, so to speak. Like you were saying, we're all wearing different colored shirts, but we're all trying to pull the same end of the rope to get the job done. And it's all for moving America, and I would say even moving the world. Running out of the ports, weren't moving freight in and out from around the world, really. So
Right.
it's such a huge movement for our economy. Talk about
Right.
centrality. I mean, it trucks do everything there
Right.
is, and in
Right.
my opinion, like they always say, without trucks, America stops. Without trucks, the world stops.
That's right.
So it's a huge deal.
Well, we got about 10 minutes left in the show. Can you believe that? And there's one other thing I want to touch on, and but I do want to give the invitation to the listening audience. If you want to call in, chime in, comment, anything you want to, if you'll give us a call back at 251 we'd be glad to put you on air. We want to hear from you. But anyway, That's my invitation to everybody that's listening. Okay, but anyway, Mike, so tell me a little bit about your experience on ABS road team, and also let's get into your experience with selections and somebody right here.
It's all a great opportunity to get involved, and I encourage anybody to get involved in their company's road team if they have one. Um, ABF's road team is a little different. They mirror the American Trucking Association's America's road team captains, and we have a whole lot of captains on our team in ABF, and they're amazing people in itself.
Hold on, Mike. Let's go ahead and field a phone call. Okay.
Okay.
Welcome to Truckers Voices. Who do we have on the phone?
Hey, this is James.
Hey, Mike, can you hear James?
I can.
All right,
Hi,
go
James.
ahead, James.
Yeah, I have one question. When you decided to start trucking, why did you pick your first truck?
Okay, are you asking Mike that, or are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking Mike that. Yeah.
Okay, Mike. He said, when you started trucking, why did you pick your first truck?
Why did I pick my first truck?
Hold on, Mike. Can you expand on that a little bit? Kind of rephrase the question a little bit for us.
Yeah, was there something about the first truck you picked that made you like want to pick that one, or was there like other ones that you could have picked, but you went with the one you picked for a reason?
I picked a Kenworth because it was, BJ and the Bear. There was a Kenworth in that. Smoking a Bandit. There was a Kenworth in that. So I was kind of focused on wanting to get a Kenworth as my first truck, and that's kind of the story behind that and why that happened. That answers your question, I hope.
James.
Yeah, it answered that. Thank you.
So, James, tell us a little bit about yourself, James. Are you in the trucking industry also?
Funny thing, no, my dad is actually in the trucking industry.
Okay, who's your dad?
Me.
You're talking to him.
I wasn't sure with the voice there. Oh, hey, son, how are you?
Well, James, thank you for calling in, man. That is a surprise. Are you going to say anything else to your dad?
No, I love you. I'm proud of you for being very passionate and very skilled at what you're doing.
Oh, thank you, son. Love you too, and thank you for making me a grandfather, and Beth a grandmother. They just recently had a baby, and hello to your wife Miranda there, and take care of my granddaughter. I'll be taking her in the truck here one of these days, I hope.
Well, James, thank you for calling Truckers Voices, and man, we hope you have a great night there.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, son. Love you.
Bye-bye.
All right, Mike. That was a surprise. I had to ask because I wasn't sure, and you didn't recognize who it was at first, did you?
I wasn't at first. I was like, man, that's neat. That voice sounds familiar, but coming through a computer, it sounds a bit different. So I wasn't totally sure.
Yeah, and there's like a little bit of a delay too on it coming through the computer too. So anyway, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm glad he called in.
Yeah, that was a nice surprise right there. I love it. So anyway, getting back to what you were saying about the road team. So ABF's road team is mirrored around the ATA's road team and select, getting us prepared for selections.
Mm-hmm.
So it was actually my second time to go to selections in 2005. After winning the national in 2004 was my first time there, but I didn't have a lot of help. It was kind of go on your own and figure it out. So it was a good learning experience then. So it was my second time around with ABF, and it was again another amazing, beyond words experience. I was thrilled to be selected. That's just a crazy honor in itself to be one of the 35 that made it 2 selections. And man, that's just it. The camaraderie there is something else, but you learn really quick with those 35 competitors, and it is a competition, but you learn real quick that everyone is about as equal as it can be. I mean, I would hate to be a judge and trying to select 24 out of the 35. I mean, everybody was qualified as far as I was concerned. That you could easily have picked 35 and then some. I mean, you could probably pick 1,000 each time. But so going into the process,
and that media guy,
the media interview, we don't know who we're going to face in this mock media interview. And we knew it was going to be somebody that we all knew, but we didn't know who. And they keep tight-lipped. We don't know who we're going to face. And
hold that thought. Let's take this call. Okay.
Here.
Hey, welcome to Truckers Voices, Scott Post. How are you, brother?
Good evening. Doing very well. Very well.
Right.
And I wanted to call in and say hi to Mike. It's been a good show tonight here.
Yeah, it's been a great show, Scott. So do you want to talk to Mike? Any questions for Mike?
I don't know if I got any questions there. I'm just glad he was able to be a guest on the show, and I'm glad to see that we're able to stay in touch through different things that are going on in the industry yet.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Scott, are you doing well?
So doing fine. We're going to have our runoff this weekend on Saturday for the truck driving championships to get ready for our TDC in January 8th, June 8th.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have our little FedEx runoff on Saturday. So we're going to get some stuff ready tomorrow for that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Scott, we thank you for listening to the show. We thank you that you are a proud supporter of the show. And anyway, we will be talking to you in the future, Scott. And we're getting close to the top of the hour here. So I want to finish up with Mike here real quick, But Scott, thank you for calling, and tell Nancy we say hello.
Okay, I'll do that. Hang in there, Mike, and hopefully Tim will play one of your videos one of these nights.
Right on. Thanks for calling in, Scott. Great to hear from you. Be safe out there, and always a good conversation when we get to chat. So thanks for calling in.
All right. Be safe out there, too. Talk to you later.
Bye, Scott.
Likewise.
All right, Mike. So we got just about 2 minutes. So let's finish this up real quick,
Yeah. So that mock media interview, I turned the corner, go in his room, and guess who's standing there? This guy on your other side of the screen. But and I started laughing as soon as I walked in. It's like, oh, hey, Tim. And I was all excited. And man, he had his game face on. He's like, my name is Bruce. I'm from XYZ Radio. I want to ask you some questions. And it was great. You did a great job, Tim, doing the interviewing. I think I smiled through the whole thing because I was like, it was fun to be able to play back and forth. And it was kind of a surreal moment because, I didn't know who I was going to face in the interview,
right,
which was you. And then you kind of like with the board, everybody involved in selections. I mean, you look around the room and you're like, man, this is serious stuff again. You really get put through the paces and we got Rebecca Brewster of Attree sitting right there. And you're like, it's kind of like surreal moments, you're like all these people like you look up to and appreciate their efforts in our industry. And you're like, wow, come on, put it together, Mike, and get through this, but that was, is all just an amazing experience. And we were very fortunate out of the 5 of us, we got 3 of us on the road team this year with ABF. So congrats to not only our 3 guys, but all the
right,
guys that made it and gals that made it into the 2024-25 team. That's amazing. And we need, like I said, there's education and communication is huge for the motoring public, and in having you guys out there like yourself, you're road team captain, America's road team captain, get out there and share what we do and let people know that, these big giant trucks are there's essential, but there's humans just like us,
right,
and driving them. So you guys create that humanizing that truck, who's behind that wheel that they can't see because we're so far off the ground. So appreciate everybody's efforts in being professionals out there.
Absolutely, Mike. Well, it's been great. Like I told you, man, this hour will go by really fast, and it's been an honor talking to you. Glad I got to hear your story, got to hear your TDC experiences, your road team selection experiences. I'm glad I got to be a part of that. Yeah, I was there to do a job, for sure. And but other than that, man, it's been great. And don't be a stranger to the show. We'll have to have you back on in the future. Especially after you go up there and you win nationals. How about that?
That's the goal, man. I'm just excited to get back there. In 2022 to get back was just amazing, and just to get to the national is amazing feat in itself. And how you end up is who knows. I'm going to be pulling out all the stops. That I'm going to be, like I said, I was reading my Factory Driver's book, just sitting here waiting for the show to start, and I'm practicing like I've never practiced before. So. I'm going to have some great competitors in my division, as all divisions do, and I mean the best of the nation. So you got to step up to the plate. You want to get to the top. So that's the goal. So appreciate it, Tim. It's been an honor to be on this show. I mean, you have some amazing guests, and I look forward to every week. And I get to listen to it because I'm usually sleeping during the day. So you guys are producing the show, then I get to listen to it when I'm driving. So it's always good stuff. And then I got one more thing sitting here is my shirt. So.
Oh, that saying there, they see me rolling, was always inspired by Mr. Steve Bren there. So we can honor him with this right here.
Right on. Great.
Well, Mike, we always end the show with a word of encouragement and safety. So if you want to say anything to the listening audience, the floor's yours, and then I'll close the show out, and we'll go from there. So go ahead, Mike.
All right. Well, for everyone watching and everybody in the world, health is everything. Please keep yourself healthy. Do all you can to keep from getting sick and stay healthy. And it's health is everything in our human life. And so that's that part of it. Hopefully everyone, is doing the right thing. And as far as driving, the big message to everybody is in what I say worked for me for 4 million safe miles is stay focused, keep your head in the game, stay alert, and stay at task at hand. Don't let your mind wander when you're out there on the road driving. Always know it's dangerous, and you have to appreciate that and respect that. So drive safe and aware, and that's pretty much it, man.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. I seen you up there. How many tuned in live? I can't see the comments on my side like I used to, so I was kind of monitoring from my phone Sunday night. We do have to do that anyway, monitor it from our phones too, because StreamYard and Facebook and the third-party streaming, it's just kind of I don't know, it has to all work out just right. And that was some of the problems we had in the past was Facebook took away some of the third-party streaming options, but I found a workaround. So we'll be improving the show over the weeks as we learn more about how to get it back on the platform. I do want everybody to know that there is a new Truckers Voices page, not a group, and we're going to be transitioning a lot of stuff over there, especially some of the replays over there. And hopefully one day we can just direct everybody over there and we can all go to one page, and y'all can see Truckers Voices over there. Thinking about renaming it and renaming it to Truckers Voices TV. How about that? So that's a thought. But anyway, thank y'all for tuning in tonight. And as I always say, y'all remember to look out for those who aren't looking out for themselves. And y'all be careful because it's coming up on the weekend and everybody's going to be traveling, trying to get to where they're going. We just all want to get there safely. And the most important mile that we can make is that